Thank you for taking the time out to interview with me today. I'm doing this project for my class, which will also be shared with my professor and my classmates, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So today we're going to be talking about your career with the U.S. Navy. If you can just introduce yourself and tell me what a day to day life looks like and what made you join.
Yeah. So I'll start off with the beginning. My name is M.Purnell, and then going into a day to day life with me currently with the Navy is kind of entails more of sitting down and talking and going through expectations for things in the future, whether it's 6 months to 18 months for who we're training and trying to prepare for deployment, and then preparing myself also for deployment.
Oh, okay. Pretty cool. How would you describe the culture or sense of community with your fellow sailors and peers?
Um, I'm in a smaller community of the Navy, so the culture is is everybody kind of. I'm not saying everybody thinks alike, but everybody's on a similar waveform because it's not the broad scope of the Navy that everybody sees on TV. It's more the Navy that you don't see, but you probably hear about. So everybody kind of has to be similar in mindset, and if it's something going on with you, it has a bigger effect on the team more so than if you're on a ship of 5,000 people, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you might not see that person every day, but where I'm at, I'll see that person every day. So it's more close quarters and being able to work with, and if something's bothering them, you got to be able to talk through it. So going back, referring to the culture part, even if you come in with a different mindset or a different expectation, as long as we can still help you achieve what you want to achieve, right, for the betterment of yourself, then it also helps set a tone, and it's also considered a culture setter because helping you achieve what you need to achieve and helping you grow eventually helps the team grow, and that's what matters.
Oh, okay. Speaking on enlisting, how do you feel about your first enlistment or when you went to boot camp?
Long time ago, so been in about 14 and a half years. So uh, my first enlistment was kind of pretty standard with the Navy. Did the ship life for about 4.5 years, and so I didn't feel any type of way. I just felt it was a job, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do my job and go home. So that's how I kind of dealt with it for the most part. Yes, I gained some things out of it insight wise, but truly, first enlistment was strictly focusing on what the job was, completing the job, and then going home.
How old were you when you first joined?
I was 20 years old.
20 or so. Okay, and what influenced you, like your decision to join?
Mm, it's kind of over college, right? Um, so not wanting to go back to college at that particular time, right? And then later on going to college, but not wanting to go to college at that time because wasn't really focused on it. Knew I wasn't going to be staying in my area and staying around my influences. So that was my biggest influence on like, hey, let me do that. And then what made me go Navy, if I can interject,
Mm-hmm.
over other branches. Kind of talked with the Marines, talked with the Army a decent amount. They didn't appeal to me,
Mm-hmm.
truly. Didn't really deal with the Air Force more so in my area. So um, got a cousin that's in the Navy, and he was the one that was in the Navy. So we were actually at his father's funeral, and I just talked to him then, and he was like, "Yeah, bro, like it wasn't bad." So I was like, "All right, I'll go talk to the Navy then." And so that's what kind of influenced it. And then when I finally talked to the Navy, just pretty laid back overall from having just conversation, and then I was like, "All right, cool." So I made my decision out of the three with that one.
Okay. You brought up your cousin. How does the rest of your family and friends feel about your decision to join the Navy?
Back then, it wasn't their decision, so I didn't seek their advice in any particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Only person that might have been slightly upset was my mother, but it was just upset about the fact that she didn't understand it. So that's all it was. But when she understood it later on, she showed up to my graduation from boot camp and stuff. So and then her whole mindset of it changed. So
Do you feel like that affected you in the beginning versus now?
in what way?
That they wasn't very accepting of you joining versus now that you've been in for a few years.
No, I said my mother was
Your
the only
mother.
one that wasn't truly accepting.
Yeah.
But she wasn't like, oh, boom. She was over it probably like my first week in boot camp.
Okay.
So it wasn't about me thinking about, oh, what does she feel about? I don't, especially like when I joined, I was actually 19. But as a 20-year-old, it wasn't going through my head to say, hey, what does my mother feel about this? I'm not doing this to understand how she felt about it. I did it because I wasn't going to be staying at her house at that particular time.
Got you. Okay. My next question is, if you hadn't joined the military, what other careers do you think you might have pursued?
Probably degree in finance. I mean, just because I had influences around me from teachers and their spouses that had their degrees in finance. So, and even when I was in school, I gravitated to it, the economic portion of it, and then the breakdown. So that was always interesting to me. Kind of was fast tracked with was on the way to be fast tracked when after I did join, and I was just waiting to go to boot camp. I got a job with Domino's, and they were fast tracking me to be manager in like 2 months to me actually pushing towards owning my own Domino's. So that was another path, but those are most two realistic paths that I was already kind of trending towards. So aside from those two, I wasn't looking for another path.
Okay.
Yeah.
What lessons or values stuck with you since you've been in the Navy?
Values. I mean, you kind of know what's right from wrong, so everybody knows the values, right? But help out people that you can, but don't overextend yourself to where you can't help yourself. So everybody knows right from wrong, even if they pretend they won't. Lessons or things I've gained, right, from Navy, and I'll say Navy in time, right, because in a day, Navy's just a stepping stone. It's what you make out of it, right? So it's literally just making yourself more interpersonal, making yourself able to talk to multiple different types of facets of people. And I don't just say like, oh, people from different backgrounds. That extends past America. Like I've been in countries where we're not so particularly friendly with, but just being able to humanize yourself and have a one-on-one conversation with someone gets you a long way. So that helps you a lot. And then back in place of like, hey, well, I said earlier, stepping stone of it, networking. So it's huge in every factor, every sector. Who you know, right, does help you. But I feel like you use stepping stone wise, you use who you know, but also actually know the knowledge, actually have the experience of what you want to gain out of it. So those are the two main things, right? First coming in, it was more so showing people that, hey, boom, I'm a team player. 'Cause that's all the military is about, being a team player. The second part is for yourself, being able to identify what avenues you want to go down and being able to identify who I need to know, who's going to help me in the long run. And that's the basic one-on-one networking. It's just like if somebody went to a meeting or a conference, you're there to network, right? The information that's there, possibly something you already know. It's going to be rare that something that's going to stick out to say, oh, I never knew of that. But the people that's there are probably going to be people that can open doors or put you in the right direction to meet people that's able to help you grow and expand in your operation or whatever particular thing you're doing.
Okay. Speaking on that, this is kind of a two-parter question.
Yeah.
What leadership skills have you developed and that you have now? And what advice would you give someone starting their journey within the Navy or wanting to join?
Okay. The leadership portion of it. Always been a leader. I've learned to lead in different ways. So I remember when I first joined. So my first year in, I was put in a leadership position over people that outranked me probably 4 or 5 ranks, and they would get hurt feelings about it. But at the same time, I was leading by example at that time, right? 21-year-old, that's literally like, oh, I get my hands dirty and I do what they're grilling you about because you're saying people are doing something and you're not going back and checking, right? So as time went forward, I learned that you can be a hands-on leader, right? You can be a leader that goes by and actually checks what their people are doing. You can be a knowledgeable leader that actually knows, hey, this is a piece of equipment or whatever these people are operating with. And you have to have the knowledge to either have the background that you either did it in the past, or if you didn't do it, the knowledge to know like, hey, what shortfalls may become of them doing this, what might possibly break, or what they may possibly trip up on and miss, right? So a lot of times you hear higher leadership in the Navy or military in particular, but in the Navy, they'll say trust but verify. So that's just you going and saying, hey, I trust that you did it, but did I go back and verify, right? So that's literally like if I have under me, back then I used to have a couple $1 million worth of drone equipment under me. And I had another person that was a peer, but I was in a leadership position above him. And I trusted him, right? To his word of, hey, I did what I said I did about putting the equipment up, making sure everything was squared away, and things were locked up because literally a couple $1 million worth of equipment. And so on paper, I'm in charge of it, right? And then he works for me. A couple other people work for me. But since he's a peer, I was like, hey, you know what you're doing. You've been in more than me, longer than me. Trust, right?
Yeah.
I learned a valuable lesson of trust but verify. Hey, you might want to, you ain't got to stand over their shoulder. That's micromanaging. But if they say they did it, you can go back and check it, right? They don't have to be there.
Oh, okay.
So that's another trait that you develop. And
is that a good trait to have within the military?
overall, it is because of in the military and in the situation I was in, once again, just like now, the smaller part of the Navy. Those things are between life and not having life. So those things matter more than a simple, hey, I forgot to turn this piece of paper in or print this off or something like that. Those things can have actual catastrophic effect on you or somebody else. So that's just, yeah, there's multiple leadership traits I have learned, but the ones that stuck out were younger days, hands-on, and then as time went by, getting the subject matter expert knowledge to either know exactly like, hey, they say, hey, what's the source for this? And I can either say the source, I can say, hey, come over here, pull up the source. This is the source right here that you're going to use, right? When I'm doing training in front of a group of people, or if I'm giving trainings so they can learn how to actually train people, right? It's just different things that you just add to your tool belt, or you just add to your web of knowledge, and you just got to be able to understand different personalities, understand how different people will react to you. I think that's probably a key part too that I kind of left out. Different personalities, but you can't let the fact that they're a different personality overrule like, hey, this got to get accomplished.
Okay.
So you got to be able to step in and say, hey, we fell short on this. We're going to do what we got to do to take care of it.
So a person that's looking to come into the military has to be willing to have like a strong team ethic type of personality.
even if they don't, right? That's what boot camp's for. I'll be honest. Like some people come in with an individual mindset. Boot camp is to say, hey, you're great at this, right? Or hey, you did this just for yourself. And if people ever play sports, then they kind of realize it. But it's like, hey, just like in sports growing up, hey, you showed up late to practice. I'm gonna make everybody run just because you showed up late to practice. Military's the same thing, right?
Okay.
We have sports trainers and everything, like physical trainers, everything. So it's the same thing. They say, hey, uh, you did that right there for yourself. You didn't look out for any of your buddies. Your buddies are gonna work out just because hey, you get to sit back, don't do nothing, go chill,
Gotcha.
right? Go drink some water, right? Go get a snack. And so it just they started early, but it's just like that because you don't want to let people down. Even no matter how stubborn you might think you are, you don't want to let people down to the sense of like it's gonna come back on you. So that's the military way of it. It's not necessarily like, hey, you gotta be team mindset. You'll buy in or they'll process you out.
Okay. Can you give us a quick summary on um, between all the jobs that you've done in the military and all the skills that you've learned, how do you think that will help you most in civilian life?
Um, Once again, just making myself able to do multiple things. So yeah, quick summary. Really, I'm dealing with radars, uh, dealing with we call it data links, but invisible networks. Talking with connecting to satellites and stuff. Uh, More so like those things help translate, right? And then my part in it, particularly different from people that did a similar job to me, was I was willing to say go deeper and not just focus on my part of operating on it. I wanted to be also the person that knew how to troubleshoot it and be able to provide maintenance for it as well. So
Gotcha.
that helped with that. And then I took that and then um, went into the rotor drones. And so in that world, I've developed that and had multiple offers. To this day, still get offers. And it's just like, I have time to do that, right? And then, but that gives you around a whole, because that's the word we're in, right? AI learning now.
Yeah.
But I was in it before that level of AI. Now it's that level of AI into those type of systems, right? And then I'm still in that world, so that's translate over very well. Like some drone operators, they can go work for the power company. It's big in the South. They go work for a power company. They'll fly over, helping predict and helping the meteorologists understand, like, hey, this is what's going on. Same thing in the law enforcement world. They do the same thing. And then it just gives you a background of mechanical portion of it. I'm not going to say engineering, but you do learn certain soft skills about engineering of how if I've broken down and built up this particular drone, it's just a sequence of understanding this drone that I can go to the next drone and the next drone and the next drone. Even though they're different systems, I understand the sequence of what's the first step, what's the next step, because I'm 100% working on, just like this is a computer, I'm just working on a computer at that point. I have to, on difference is I'm actually mechanically engineering, I'm actually putting every single piece in there, right? And then I put the CPU, the brain in there. Then I add what it's going to have for its thoughts. Then I'm going to add what it's going to do for its mission. So same thing that you do for this right here, right? For CPU and BIOS and everything. And it's just, it flows like that, right? And so that's how I translate that to that. And then I'll leave it at those jobs right there for the most part. But yeah.
So I know you can't tell us a lot about your job and the things that you do, but overall, how do you feel about talking about like your career and your experience? And can you rate it from 0 to 10? How do you feel? How do you feel? I understood what you were talking about and how overall I feel about you and your job field and what you do.
Okay, I'll start from the end. I feel you do have an understanding because you've seen me um, come back from trainings and you've seen me talk about certain things. I just keep it same way on this camera. I just keep it at the unclass level, and then you do have a knowledge of it because you military brat, so you grew up with the military, so you have a knowledge of certain things. But um, that's the biggest thing. Rating it out of 10, I don't really get things a rating, so I'd be generic and say 7. Like my military career is pretty rare. That's why I didn't go into some of the jobs I do because uh, even the drone stuff, most of the time, if people follow my pathway to how I achieved and ranked up and stuff, right place, right time, right, being able to, you got to be a sponge for knowledge, and then you got to be able to, hey, like people around you have to be able to recognize how great you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to not only just be great at your job, but help out people, and it's just like not understanding their job. They know their job. They go to school for their job, but understanding like the intricacies of like, okay, yeah, your job does this, but how does your job, aside from what it does, help us achieve this goal, right? Even if somebody told you no on this side, how do I achieve yes on this side? So uh, those type of things, and that's why I'm in the community I'm in now. Those type of things those type of things are always going to be thumbs up for me. But my experience with the military is rare because anybody that would try to copy it or would try to follow in those footsteps, 9 times 10, they will not have those opportunities. Just being honest. It's just particular people, right time, right. That's like, oh yeah, you need to go here. Why? Because the ship, the Navy, on paper, you are great, but this part of the Navy holds you back.
Gotcha.
You need to go to this part of the Navy. Why? Because, like I said, you can have it in movies and stuff, but it's not the broadcast Navy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part of the Navy you fit in with. Well,
So you're saying there's two parts of the Navy.
there's like 4 to 5 parts of the Navy, honestly. You have the beginning, and I'll wrap it up like this. You have the beginning where the recruiter, then you take that recruiter, and then you go over to the boot camp part of the Navy. Those are 2 different parts of the Navy. They just work together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then the boot camp part of the Navy and the schools of the Navy, after that, those are 2 together. Right? And then after the schools, you have the ships. That's the main part of the Navy. That's America's Navy. That's the commercial. That's what you see. Then you have the expeditionary part of the Navy. And that's the 4th. That slides over from what I did and what I do into this other part. This also expeditionary part of the Navy because it's still Navy at the end of the day. But we just work with a lot of other units that's not Navy and what I do with them as well. And those 2 are together because they blend together. And then, of course, you have the Blackwater Navy, the submarine. So don't have any background on that. Never been on a submarine, never will. But they're a different part of the Navy as well. So that's why I said the Navy is 100% broken up. And I mean to the point where, like, you ask these people in the Navy about these people in the Navy, they don't know. You ask these people in the Navy, about these people in the Navy, they don't know. It's broken up like that to these people got to focus on what they have to focus on. And right, the people up top, and I'm going to say it like this, but we call it war game, but they're making the big moves to bring it all together.
Okay. Well, to finish out this interview, my last question for you is: do you feel some part of the Navy, or are there aspects of the Navy that is humanized, and shows some type of leniency when it comes to how serious they're presented in like movies, on the TVs, and like the news in that aspect?
Yeah, the Navy's probably the most lenient. That's why they probably get the most cameras in their face and the most movies and most, hey, this is what's going on, right? The Navy is probably the most humanized version of it. Like a lot of people say the Air Force, but when you go around these Air Force bases and be at the Air Force and train with them, in my world of it, yes, but that's the same thing I have with the Army and sometimes the Marines of it, right? But in the normal part of the Navy, the normal part of the Air Force, normal part of the Marines, the normal part of the Army, the Navy is the most humanized version of it. Like straight up.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time to interview with me again.
Yep.